Shocking stock market news. This is going to blow you away. Look at what I got back there. Shocking. So my man Eric Stubbs, who I communicate with on Advisor Perspectives, is in the process of writing a book. He's 4/5 of the way done. And I don't know what his social media stuff is or anything like that, but I'm very much looking forward to reading his book. And he asked some of us, he goes, hey, could you give me some basic criticism of the beginnings of his book? And I happily did that for sure. And one of the stuff that he mentioned in his writings, this is crazy, man. So we refer to this article right here. Do stocks outperform treasury bills by Henrik Bessenbinder from Arizona State. All right. So what Bessenbinder found that going back from 1926 to 2020, 1926 to 2020, 56% of U.S. stocks underperformed 1 month treasury bills. 56% of U.S. stocks underperformed 1 month treasury bills. Are you hearing me, my friends? That means more than half, the majority of stocks did worse than 1 month T-bills. Stocks for the long run? And if you look at the whole world as a whole, it's like 63% or something like that. Like 2/3 of all stocks in the entire world did less than 1 month T-bills. Yeah, that should give you some hesitation before you put all your efforts into individual stocks. All right, and I'm going to show what I've just kind of done some research on myself the last couple hours. In fact, something like 0.5% of all stocks were accounted for like 72% of the entire growth of the stock market. 0.5%. And like Eric says, it's a lottery ticket, man. It's a lottery ticket. Some will win big. The vast majority don't win big. In fact, the vast majority don't even beat the average. It's crazy. So anyway, so here's what I've done. I said, I want to look at the S&P 500, the constituents of the S&P 500 going back 1994, 2000, and 2014. And we're going to look, and I just looked at Portfolio Visualizer, and I said, okay, we'll reinvest dividends. We're going to look at the S&P 500. We're going to put $10,000 into the S&P 500, and then we're going to put $10,000 to each of the top 20 market capitalization, the largest constituents of the S&P 500. Market capitalization is the size of the company's value. That's all it is. And how they determine size, they determine market shares outstanding, shares that you could buy, times the price. That's it. All right. So in this case, in 1994, the largest constituent of the S&P 500 was Exxon. All right, in 1994, the second largest was Coca-Cola, and you'll see it changes over time. But anyway, so we're going to look at the S&P 500. We're going to compare it to the top 20 largest constituents of the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 consists of 500 companies. Some of those companies, I won't say they're small, but they're smaller, mid-sized companies. All right, the likelihood that you're going to put your retirement savings in these smaller, mid-sized companies is quite not likely to happen. Now, some you might have. I mean, at the end of the day, not likely to happen. So we're just going to look at the top 20 because I'm not going to look at 500 stocks. That'll take me go crazy. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so in 1994, if we put $10,000 in the S&P 500, it is now worth $188,000. $10,000 in Exxon is only worth $175. $10,000 in Coke is $111. $10,000 in Walmart is $224. Raytheon got merged with United Technologies. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second. Achoo! COVID. Someone call the doctor. I need my mask. So you can see here, Exxon 175, Coke 111, Merck 211, GE 61,000. So $10,000 invested in GE is worth a third of that of the S&P 500. And you can see what we've done here. Now, 8 of the 20 stocks of the top 20 market capitalization stocks, again, market capitalization is just the size of the company in terms of share price times market shares outstanding. Only 8, well, you can't see that. Only 8 out of the 20 outperformed the S&P 500. That's it. So you have a greater chance from 1994 of just being the S&P 500 than those stocks, because that means 12 of the stocks underperformed the S&P 500. Now, the interesting thing is, look at this, Microsoft. Microsoft went to $2.64 million. 10,000 invested in 1994, Microsoft went to $2.64 million bucks. That's pretty impressive. But again, only companies that beat, other than Microsoft, the highest one was Raytheon because all our wars, right? And so Raytheon is at 345. But everything else, look at this. AIG was worth $4,000. 3M worth 81,000. All those are good, but the S&P 500 smoked all that. All right, so now let's go to 2004. We're going to run the same numbers. In 2004, $10,000 in the invested in the S&P 500, again, we're reinvesting dividends, is worth 66,000 schmackaroonies. Microsoft now is the largest market capitalization. Why? Because it went from 10,000 is now worth 2.64 million in Microsoft. Where's Pablo? Pablo. So you can see why Microsoft now would be one of the largest companies out there because of the market cap plus the price per share. ExxonMobil went from number 1 to number 2. Now it's only worth $49,000. So Microsoft beat the S&P 500 significantly again. Again, 10,000 invested in the S&P 500 in 2004. As of market price yesterday is worth $66,000. 10,000 invested in Microsoft is worth $241,000. But when all's said and done, only 3 of the top 20 companies, only 3 beat the S&P 500. That'd be Berkshire, and just barely, and that'd be Chevron, just barely. I mean, look at Cisco. $10,000 invested in Cisco 2004. This is after the market crash, by the way, of 2001 and 2. Even here, Cisco is only worth $29,000. $10,000 invested in Cisco in 2004 is worth $29,000. J&J, 55. IBM, 37. Verizon, 34. All these guys, Citi, $2,000. You invested $10,000 in Citigroup, you're down to $2,000. GE, $14,000. Pfizer, look at Pfizer. So Pfizer is way down here, and now in 2004 it's way up here. The third largest market capitalization, and $10,000 invested in Pfizer is down to $17,000. Isn't that crazy? Chevron is worth $75,000, but again, the S&P 500 is $66,000. So in the spit business. But look at that. Only 3 of the top 20 market capitalization stocks beat the S&P 500. It's going to get even worse than that too. So let's go over here. Here we get now Apple. Apple is in the top right here. Not at all. People forget how bad Apple was in the late 90s, man. Apple was a crap show. It was. Remember, it went to freaking Bill Gates for a handout. Please save our company. Anyway, so here's Apple, the number 1 market cap in 2014. 2014, if you would have invested $10,000 in Apple, it's worth $103,000 now. In 2014, if you would have invested $10,000 in the S&P 500, it's worth $33,000. So Apple, Google, Microsoft, Berkshire, Oracle, Amazon, and JP Morgan. That's it. Those are the only companies that beat the S&P 500. Only 7 of the top 20 in market capitalizations beat the S&P 500. Not one time frame did the majority of individual stocks in the top 20 market capitalization beat the S&P 500. I can almost guarantee if you look at the rest of the S&P 500, the 480 stocks that follow, I can almost guarantee you the vast majority did not beat the S&P 500. So look at this. Apple did well. Microsoft again. So Microsoft, Exxon's on the top 3. Isn't that weird? But now we got some new constituents. Google wasn't in there before. Apple wasn't in there before. But Bank of America, $10,000 invested in Bank of America in 2014 is worth $27,000. $10,000 invested in Citigroup is worth $13,000. Look, GE is no longer in here. GE is in there. $10,000 invested in GE is worth $11,000. You can see GE though is coming over here. So in terms of market capitalizations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, number 7 in market cap, number 5 in market cap, and now here is number 11 in market cap, and now it's not even. They almost delisted, as a matter of fact. So that's interesting, but it's going to get more interesting. So check this out. Let me pause this real quick. I'm going to show you something here. Let me pause this. I'm going to show you what else is interesting. So remember, this is just putting 10,000 to each. All right. So we only had 10,000 in the S&P 500. But what if we said we're going to put 10,000 to each of these companies? That's $200,000 into each of these companies, and we're going to compare that to a $200,000 investment in the S&P 500. So check this out. This is going to be nuts. So in 1994, if you would have invested $200,000 in the S&P 500, or you would have invested $10,000 in the top 20 market capitalization stocks in the S&P 500, in 1994, your S&P 500 would be worth, if you invested $200,000, it'd be worth hold on a second. $3.77 million. You know what it'd be worth if you invested $10,000 in each of these other companies? $5.439 million. All right. So if you would have invested $10,000 in each of these 20 companies, you would have smoked the S&P 500. But the only reason you would have smoked it is because Microsoft. You take out Microsoft, it's only worth $2.792 million. That's it. If you did not invest in Microsoft, the S&P 500 smoked you by $1 million. Isn't that crazy? If you missed that Microsoft train, your ass is grass, my friends. We go to 2004. If you would have put 200,000, 200,000, 10,000 for 20 stocks is 200,000, or 10,000 in the S&P 500. In 2004, you are worth, and I can't read my own handwriting. Hold on just a second. So if you would have invested 200,000 in the S&P 500 in 2004, today you're worth 1.32 million. If you would have invested $10,000 into these other stocks each, you're only worth 903,000. That's it. And again, Microsoft is by far and away the leader of the pack there. But you can see Microsoft isn't quite as big as a big run-up as it was in 2000 from 1994. So you have, what's that, freaking 400,000 more in the S&P 500 than if you would have put 10,000 in each of these top 20 stocks. Let's go to 2014. I should be able to see this a little bit easier because I wrote up my other page here. Again, I just use paper, dude. I'm a paper kind of guy. It's just the way I am. You're old, Josh. Yeah, damn right I'm old because I'm smart. This is how we used to do it, my friends. We didn't just have these fancy schmancy. We're cavemen. We say, give me a piece of paper, give me a pen, and we'll write it on the board. I'll write it on the piece of paper because it sinks into your head better than just typing all over the place or with an app or something like that. Our caveman. We don't get your ways. Thank the good Lord we don't get your ways, because if we got your ways, we'd be all depressed and manic. And I'm not. I'm happy. If loving the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right. All right. So here, 200K in the S&P 500 is worth now 658,000, whereas 200K, 10 in all these other ones is 731. Right? But again, it's 731. But what's that based on? Right? Microsoft again, and then Microsoft and Apple, and that's pretty much it. So if you missed, where's Google? Yeah, even Google's in that. Microsoft and Apple. So the point being, if you would have missed those two stocks, your goose is cooked, man. So even though if you would have invested 10,000 each of these stocks, you would have done better in 1994, and significantly better, assuming you did 10,000 each in the top 20 market capitalizations. But if you would have only had 10 stocks, 5 stocks, 18 stocks. If you just would have missed Microsoft, you're in a world of hurt. From 2004 to 2024, even Microsoft and whatnot, in these top 20, you missed out on $400,000. And even though Microsoft is significantly higher than the other ones. In 2014 to today, you would have done better if you put 10,000 each of these guys. But again, if you missed out on Microsoft and Apple, you're in the world hurt. So the question that comes to my mind is, well, would you do that again in Microsoft? Because don't you think people thought the same thing in GE and ExxonMobil back in the old days? Industrial companies, consumer, Walmart. Walmart was still just an up and coming. It wasn't. I mean, it's dominant, but it wasn't as dominant as it is now. And then Amazon took some of the lure off, but still, Walmart is a dominant company in the retail space. So how would you invest in these stocks now? So now we got 20 stocks to choose from. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to put 10,000 each of the top 20 holdings of the S&P 500. I mean, are you going to get another Microsoft? Or are you going to say, no, I'm just going to bypass all these other ones. I'm going to invest in Microsoft. What's the other? I think Berkshire did better in the 2014. Berkshire did better by a little bit on the S&P 500 by 1,000. I mean, not much. Microsoft did better, Google did better, Apple did better, Amazon did better, Oracle did better, JP Morgan. You're going to say, yeah, I'm comfortable putting 10,000 each of those stocks. Would you be? I don't think so. Anyway, you got to have index funds. Now, I have 4 individual stocks. I got 100 shares plus dividends of Southern Company, 100 shares of Principal Financial Group, 100 shares of something called Akamai, something like that, AKAMI. I forgot what that even does. And I got 100 shares of something else. I forgot what it is. I don't have 100 shares of Costco, but I got something else I just can't remember. Anyway, everything else I have is in the total stock index. And that's what you should do too, man. Because you're not going to, if you play this lottery and you don't have that lottery ticket, you're underperforming. And then you're going to be sitting there thinking, and the question is, how many people would have held on for dear life all these years? Not many. Just buy the index, be done with it, dude. And then it's cheap. The index, what costs 4 basis points? I'm just literally for your stocks. You can tangle with individual stocks. I would not make that the basis of my overall portfolio. All right. Love your thoughts. Don't forget, my new investment course is down below. I talk about this stuff in my new investment course, and I think you'll get a lot out of that because I just talked about how to make this simple for you to keep the fees low and don't worry about it. So buy the link in the doobly-dook. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, just get your money refunded. It's $200 is what it costs. I can't imagine you're not going to get $200 worth of value out of that. I just can't imagine. All right. God bless. Love your thoughts.